Hey, Cub fans! Thanks for tuning in to Cubs 24/7, where Randy talks Cubs with delight and unwavering optimism. We're going to talk Nico Hoerner today. Very simple question I'm trying to answer. How good is Nico? Well, we know he's good. Question is, how good? And I guess the thought process behind the beginning of this piece is looking forward to the 2024 season. What can we expect with our star players? For example, Dansby. Dansby is older than Nico, and if I said, well, is Dansby gonna get better next year? Well, he might, but I don't really expect that. I don't expect him to get worse. I think we can kind of pencil in Dansby to do what he did. I don't know that there's a whole lot of improvement left to see in Dansby. I think he might be a finished product. Hopefully he can sustain this for a long period of time, but I'm not going to hold my breath and wait for Dansby to get a whole lot better. I think the same thing can be said for Ian Happ. I don't know that there's a whole lot more room for Ian. I think maybe he's hit the ceiling. I think we're going to get what Ian brings. And as long as Ian does that, I think we're all going to be happy with it. On the other side, I think Seiya Suzuki I think he's primed for a big jump in 2024. The tumultuous season he had in 2023, he learned from it, came back, had a great finish. I look for Seiya to have a big year. And I think the same holds true for Nico. Gold Glove winner, had a really good year, but I think there's more for Nico. I think he's still growing. I think he's still maturing. I think power is going to start to show itself at some point. So the question is, how good is Nico? But the bigger question is, how much better can Nico get? So that's our focus today. We're gonna talk Cubs baseball. We're gonna kick back. We're gonna enjoy a conversation and get to know Nico Hoerner. And I've got some very interesting numbers that I want to share with you. I had a couple of ideas. And so stick with me to the end. I've got some really interesting comparatives that I think you'll enjoy. So let's talk Nico. Nico, born on May 13th, 1997. He's 26 years old, 6'1", 200 pounds. Nico went to high school in Oakland, California, played soccer, basketball, and, of course, baseball. Played baseball 4 years. His senior year, hit .517, 6 home runs, 30 RBI, and 40 runs. But he wasn't drafted. And I guess before I kind of did the research, I just assumed that he was drafted maybe in the lower rounds in decline. We knew he went to Stanford. But he went undrafted in 2015 as a senior. So he enrolled at Stanford, had a really great career. In 168 games at Stanford, he had 116 runs scored, 210 hits, 3 home runs. So he didn't have a lot of power at Stanford. Didn't steal a lot of bases either. I was surprised. Only 18 stolen bases. But he slashed .304, had a .351 on base, and a .408 slug in 168 games. Played second base his freshman year. 53 out of the 54 games he played at second base his freshman year. As a sophomore in 2017, he moved to shortstop. He played all 58 games at shortstop for Stanford in 2017 as a sophomore. He slashed .307 with a .357 and a .406 in 2017. After the 2017 season, he played in the Cape Cod League that summer, hit .301 and showed more pop. Had 61 home runs in that short Cape Cod League season, and he was named a league all-star that year. His junior season at Stanford, 2018, really good. Hit .345, 2 home runs, 40 RBIs, all Pac-10. He was all Pac-10 as a junior as well, so we went back-to-back, all Pac-10. Still hadn't showed that much pop, 2 home runs as a junior. So finished up his 2018 season. Of course, got drafted in the 2018 draft. Cubs took him 24th overall in the 2018 draft. Signing bonus of $2.72 million. And went right to work. Debuted, went to the Arizona League Cubs. Played a short stint there. He moved quick through the minors, as we know. He wasn't at one place very long. But in 2018, started in Arizona, got reassigned to the Eugene Emeralds in June, and then shortly after that was promoted to the High A South Bend Cubs mid-July. So he went from the Emeralds, skipped Low A, and went right to High A South Bend. Once he got there, he had a injury, strained an elbow ligament, and then ended up missing the rest of the season. Prior to the injury, he was hitting .327 though. So after the season was over, recovered from the injury, Cubs assigned him to the Mesa Solar Sox. So he played in the Arizona Fall League in 2018. It's clicking right along. Little setback with the elbow injury. Then in 2019, he got called up in September, on September the 9th. And he was the first player from that 2018 draft to make it to the show. He debuted that night against the Padres. He went 3 for 5. He started at shortstop that night. First at bat in the bigs, he got a single off of Cal Cantrell. And finished the season with the Cubs, played 20 games, hit .282 with 3 home runs. 2020, COVID year. I pretty much throw out COVID year. The 2020 numbers are all skewed. You know, it was odd. I don't, you know, I shouldn't even talk. We should just skip it completely. But he played in 48 games, hit .222 with a .312 on base and a .259 slug in 48 games. So, you know, that's clearly not Nico, but that's what happened. 2021 season, he was injured most of the year. Had an oblique problem that limited him to only 44 games. 149 at bats, but he did slash .302 with a .382 on base and a .369. So in those 44 games, that he produced about what we would have expected him to in 2021. 2022, where he played opening day against the Crew, started at shortstop, hit a 2-run home run off of the 21 Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns, and that was the very first home run hit in the majors in 2022. Kind of a neat situation. And it was Nico's first home run since 2019. So opened up in 2022, played shortstop, had a good opening day. During the 2022 season, he appeared in 135 games, had 517 plate appearances, hit .281, .327 on base, and a .410 slug. Hit 10 home runs. It's kind of the first time his potential power started to show itself. 22 doubles, 55 RBIs, and played 133 games at shortstop. And I'm going to give you his fielding numbers because, you know, that was the year he played shortstop, and of course the year after he played second base when Dansby came. But I'm going to give you Nico's fielding percentages from 22 at shortstop, and I pulled up Dansby's numbers during the same season. So Nico and Dansby both played shortstop in the 2022 season. Here's how it panned out. Nico had a .974 fielding percentage, and Dansby had a .986. Nico made 13 errors. Dansby made 8. Nico had 358 assists, and Dansby had 391. Nico had 127 putouts, and Dansby had 193. Dansby had about 100 more chances, 592 to Nico's 498, and Dansby played in 161 games compared to Nico's 133. So that's a pretty good look at a 25-year-old Nico versus a little bit older, a little bit more mature Dansby. Dansby's numbers were obviously a click better, but I just thought it was an interesting comparison from Dansby and Nico's fielding percentages in the season of 2022. Let's move on. I want to do Nico's offensive numbers, and the question that is posed is, how good is Nico? How good is he going to be? So in 2023, he obviously had a good year. He won the Gold Glove. He hit well. He slashed for the season .283 with a .346 on base and a .383 slug for a .729 OPS. And that translated to a. Here's the numbers. Let's just get to it because you can tell I'm kind of excited. I've got Nico's numbers from 2023, which was his season of his 26-year-old age, and I have compared him to Craig Biggio, Ryno, and Joe Morgan. 3 Hall of Famers. The comparison is during their 26-year-old year. So Nico, Biggio, Ryno, and Joe Morgan, when they were 26 years old, here's what they did. We'll run it. We'll start with plate appearances. Nico had 688. Biggio had 721. Ryno had 682. And Joe Morgan had 658. So Nico's right in the middle of that pack in plate appearances. At bats, Nico had 619. Biggio had 613. Ryno had 627. And Morgan had 548. The middle of that pack. Hits. Nico had 175 hits. Biggio had 170. Ryno had 178. And Morgan had 147. Nico was 3 shy of the leader with Ryno's 178. Doubles. Nico had 27. Biggio had 32. Ryno and Morgan both had 28. Home runs. Nico had 9. Biggio had 6. Ryno had 14, which kind of doesn't surprise us. And Joe Morgan had 8. Joe Morgan and Ryno were known as power hitting second basemen. But when they were 26 years old, Nico hit 9, Joe Morgan hit 8. RBIs. Nico had 68 RBIs. Biggio had 39. Ryno had 76. And Morgan had 52. Stolen bases. You know, Joe Morgan was a stolen base leader back in his day. Well, Nico had 43. Biggio had 38. Ryno had 34. Morgan had 42. Base on balls. Nico had 49. Biggio had good eye. Biggio didn't chase. He had 94. Ryno had 46. And Morgan had 102. So Biggio and Morgan's on-base percentage is really good. We'll do strikeouts. We'll come back and show you what Biggio and Morgan did. But Nico struck out 83 times. Biggio struck out 95, struck out more. Ryno had 79, and Joe Morgan struck out the least at 55. So Joe Morgan walked 102 times, struck out 55. You don't see that anymore. Joe Morgan didn't strike out. Biggio was almost 1-to-1, based on balls 94, strikeouts 95, and Ryno and Nico have higher. So I don't know what to tell you about that. You can infer whatever you want. I just showed you the numbers. Nico Hoerner's 26-year-old season compared to 3 Hall of Fame second basemen. You shake them up, put them out, and they look the same. I don't know what that means. Don't hold me to what it means. I don't know. It means Nico's pretty good. Question is, how much better is he going to get? So we know Nico won the Gold Glove, and this is kind of how it happened. I'd gotten to the point where I got a feel for it, and then I said to myself, well, wait, you know, I'm old. I saw all these guys play, and Biggio and Nico really, to me, are very similar. Joe Morgan was different, you know, little Joe. He had a different style, but I think Nico and Biggio sort of look very similar. And then I thought, but what about Ryno? And I didn't look at the numbers yet, but I go, yeah, Ryno is better defensively, right? Ryno was silky smooth, where at a level that I don't think, even the other 3, I think Ryno is a better defender. And that's just me thinking, right? So I'm like, well, I don't have to think. Let's find out. Let's pull some numbers. So I did. So I pulled some numbers for us, just defensive numbers, just the basics, nothing ridiculous, comparing Nico, Biggio, Ryno, Morgan during their 26 seasons. So here they are. Gold Glove year for Nico. He fielded an average of 988. Biggio had a 984. But Ryno had a 994. I was like, oh, yeah. That night, that Ryno was really smooth, guys. I'm telling you. For me, the best defensive second baseman I ever saw. Amazing hands, range, Ryno. Miss him. Okay, back on. But what's the sub? We're talking about Nico. Nico had only 7 errors. Biggio had 12. Morgan had 17. Of course, Ryno only had 5. Assists. Nico had 363. Biggio had 413. Ryno had 492. And Morgan had 430. And, and I'll just skip. The reason for that is chances. Nico played the whole season, had 596 chances, where Biggio had 769, Ryno had 806, and Morgan had 796. And my thought on that is, I think if we traced it, I think back in the, Morgan played in the 70s, Ryno in the 80s, and Biggio in the 90s, when I just think guys didn't lift the ball like they do now. I think there's just more balls hit in the air today than there were back then. So middle infielders, I think, got more chances. That's my theory. I haven't checked it out. You can check it out and let me know. I'm just thinking out loud there. But Nico had 226 putouts. Biggio had 344. Ryno had 309, and Morgan had 349. So his chances are a lot lower. Means his assists and his putouts are going to be lower. But as far as percentage and ease, 988 with 12 ease, middle of the pack. You throw Ryno out, and he's probably the best one. I don't know what that means. It means Nico's really good. And you look at some of those guys I was talking about. What happened to them later on? They got better. They all did. They got better. They got more power. I mean, those guys had we're talking 20-year careers for Morgan and for Biggio, and this was early on, just scratching the surface of where they were going. I don't want to be too optimistic, put too much pressure, but it's going to be really fun to watch Nico in 2024. He's going to get better. Is he going to get more pop? He probably will. He'll probably get more pop. But there's a lot in the tank with Nico Hoerner. I think we've got something there, and good attitude. Just a really potentially a really good Cub. I know there's some talk about some of the guys we've got coming, and Nico's got a contract that has got him locked up for a couple years, and I know, but boy, I'd be real careful about looking past Nico Hoerner. I'd be real careful about that. So that's my thoughts. Nico Hoerner, how good is he? How good is he going to be? We're about to find out. So thanks for tuning in to Cubs 24/7, where Randy talks Cubs, and we'll talk again very soon. In the meantime, go Cubs, go.